I'll play the idol. Play the idol. Play the idol! Whew, thank God. I knew I could trust the landscaper. Wednesday afternoon quarterbacks, internet. My name is Peridiam, and welcome to 5 times Survivor players destroyed their own game. Be it through throwing a challenge, not playing an idol, hatching a scheme that went south quickly, or just spiraling. Non-stop spiraling. Sometimes players do all the dirty work for their opposition and have nobody to blame but themselves. So, let's talk about them, and maybe learn a lesson or two along the way. The first instance on this list is the player who inspired this video in the first place, and that is Lindsay from Survivor 43. In the pre-merge, in episode 4, Lindsay was in the majority alliance in a tribe of 6 and was sitting pretty. Once upon a time, I actually thought she could be the winner of the season after 3 episodes, but you know what, here we are, it's episode 4. Her tribe lost the immunity challenge for the first time, and they were facing tribal council. With only 6 players, there aren't a lot of places to hide, and conveniently for Lindsay, 2 of her tribe mates, Gio and Cassidy, were targeting each other. Gio and Ryan wanted to vote out Cass, meanwhile Cass's alliance, of which Lindsay was a part of, wanted to vote out Gio. A simple 4-2 vote would suffice, or possibly a 2-2-2 split, but this is Survivor. When is it ever that straightforward? Well, as a matter of fact, it turns out it was going to be that straightforward. That is until Lindsay turned her blind side into a self-fulfilling prophecy. Lindsay believed the vote was so simple that something had to be up. She began to get paranoid and openly doubted her own alliance, questioning them about their motives. Ultimately, her alliance got sick of being doubted, especially at their first tribal council as a tribe and an alliance, and decided to cut her and vote her out so both Gio and Ryan, the 2 guys at the bottom, could remain in the dark, and this would still give them a 3-2 numbers advantage going forward. Lindsay was a superfan. This was pretty tragic, but as a wise man once said, sometimes it's best to just stick to the plan.
It's like telling your drunk friend that they can't drink anymore, that they're not allowed to go into the bar, and they're like, I can, and you're like, stop drinking, and it's just like they don't listen. She may have just shot herself in the foot. 4th
person voted out of Survivor 43. Lindsay. That's 3, that's enough. Need to bring me a torch.
Speaking of sticking to the plan, this next ouster is one of the most explosive in the history of Survivor, and it's possibly my favorite result of a vote just for how insane of a reaction I had when watching it live. I am talking about Tyson voting himself out in the pre-merge of Season 20 Heroes vs. Villains, one of the wildest votes I have ever seen. Tyson is widely considered a good player, but this vote out is overthinking it to the max. Basically, Tyson is in a tribe of 9 players and a part of a 6-person alliance. His alliance has a 6-3 numbers advantage, and they know Russell, a guy in the minority 3, has an idol, meaning the plan is simple. Split the vote 3 and 3. 3 for Russell, 3 for Parvati, his ally, and essentially one of them is going home. As Boston Rob says, it's foolproof. As long as everyone sticks to the plan, it's mathematically impossible to screw this up. But greed is a funny thing, and Tyson decided to take a risk. Tyson wanted Russell to stay in the game and Parvati to leave, and he was worried that Parv and Danielle would vote for Russell, meanwhile Russell votes for Parvati, making it a 5-4 vote, and Russell goes home. Tyson figured he could just, harmlessly switch his vote from Russell to Parvati and make it 5-4 in her direction, sending her home. On paper, the maths, it checks out. In practice, this is an unnecessary risk. Tyson switches his vote to Parvati, and then Russell, Parvati, and Danielle decide not to turn on each other, but instead all vote for Tyson. Russell then plays his idol on Parvati, negating 4 votes. Meanwhile, the minority 3 vote out Tyson, as Russell only receives 2 votes in the end. Russell should have received 3 votes, but Tyson overthought the operation. Okay, hold on, I just gotta say, if you think about it, if Tyson wants Russell to stay, he should just have Russell play his idol on himself. Beyond the split vote, that is even more foolproof than anything. But Tyson didn't think it through. He admitted it himself the day after he was voted out, and man, that is one way to destroy your own game in a blaze of glory.
I realize if Parvati can vote Russell.
No, we need to split the vote. I'm telling you, 3 of us vote for Parvati, 3 of us vote for Russell. If he plays the idol, then she's going home. If he gives her the idol, he's going home. Do you understand? We can't lose.
No, not this way. Parvati?
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
2 votes Russell, 2 votes Tyson, 1 vote left. 6th person voted out of Survivor, heroes versus villains. Tyson.
And I thought, if I want to look really smart, I'm going to switch my vote from Russell to Parvati. That way, regardless of if Danielle and Parvati vote Russell, I vote Parvati, she still goes home. But
the third example in this video is one of the worst cases of pulling off a half measure. And if there's one thing I've learned from watching Breaking Bad, you never pull half measures. Season 32, Ko-Rong. The 5-person Braun tribe goes to tribal council in episode 2, and there is a clear 4v1 numbers breakdown. Alicia is on the bottom, the alliance of 4 is running the tribe, and Alicia should be going home. Until, of course, the plan doesn't get stuck to anyway. Jenny gets annoyed at the way that Jason and Scott are treating Alicia. She feels they're rude and obsessed with talking about her, and so Jenny approaches Alicia and throws her a bone. She says, "Hey Alicia, how about we pull in Sydney and blindside the guys 3-2 tonight?" So these two women rope in Sydney, and Sydney is seemingly okay with it until Jenny all of a sudden starts to doubt herself. Like waking up the next morning after a drunken escapade, Jenny flips a switch and seemingly sobers up to the reality that if she blindsides Jason, she will likely also lose Scott as an ally, which is often how these things work. You vote out Scott's closest ally, it's gonna be tough to gain his trust back. So Jenny then decides she's actually not that interested in going through with the plan, and now Sydney is throwing her arms in the air like, "What are you doing, girl?" They go to tribal council and Jenny acts wishy-washy, and this alerts Jason and Scott. They begin to doubt Jenny's loyalty, to which Jenny then tries to reaffirm she's with them and not voting them out by throwing Alicia under the bus really hard. Alicia has a lot of ammunition on Jenny and she just unloads. She admits the truth. Jenny did approach her, but Jenny says Alicia's lying, but then says, okay, Alicia is maybe being honest, but Jenny was actually lying to Alicia. Then Jenny decides to stand up on her stool and proclaim unwavering loyalty to the alliance she just tried to blindside. And all the while, Scott and Jason and Sydney are like, what is happening? And so Jenny is voted out for being all over the place and quickly spiraling from a place of strength in numbers to whatever happened in this episode. If you're gonna float a blindside to the people at the bottom, don't then pull a half measure and walk it back. You can't unring that bell.
Alicia, what's the best thing you can do in this one? Be honest. No, that's not the best thing you can do in this game. I'm getting out the strongest players now while you still can. Listen, you're absent-minded and you drive me crazy. But at the same time, I also like you. Yeah. And not only that, this game is about big moves.
I have this thing, they call it low impulse control. I chase shiny objects, so sometimes when I hear ideas, I think, oh, that's a good idea, let's do that. But then, I realize blindsiding Jason is also me blindsiding Scott.
So why not let's just be completely honest? Alicia came to me and said, let's do an all-girl alliance.
That was her that threw that out there, not me.
You know what? Hold on. Okay. Please trust the original alliance we had.
2nd person voted out of brains versus brawn versus beauty. Jenny, need to bring me a torch?
The 4th instance of destroying your own game comes in the way of Brad Culpepper from season 27, Blood vs. Water, when he gets voted out in an episode where he not only held the numbers, but was the leader of the alliance holding the numbers. This is truly a spectacle of a vote, and a large part of it is all because of Brad's decision-making leading up to this episode. You see, in the previous episode, Brad decided to blindside an ally of his, John, for being a threat who he just couldn't fully trust. The problem with this maneuver is that once you pop the seal on turning on one of your own in your own alliance, it opens the door to anyone doing that to you. In a tribe of 6 players, Brad was working with Hayden, Vetus, and Caleb, and the outsiders were Sierra and Katie. The plan was to vote out Sierra in a 4-2 vote, simple and clean. Sierra didn't have an idol, she didn't have the numbers, so how could the plan fail? Well, distrust, for starters. After they lost the challenge, Brad spent a portion of the afternoon before Tribal trying to work over Sierra and Katie in an attempt to fool them into voting out Caleb. He kept saying Caleb was the target, and he was definitely voting out Caleb, 100% voting out Caleb. He actually wasn't. He wasn't going to do that, but that was the fake plan to tell the targets. Meanwhile, the three other guys went out to strategize and talk about what they were going to be doing, and they were unsure what Brad was up to. He didn't just let them know what he was doing, so they started asking why was he not with them getting on the same page? Why was he spending so much time with the women when the plan should have been obvious? What were his real intentions? After John was blindsided in the previous episode, paranoia became the name of the game, and so going to tribal council, Brad made a comment that further set Caleb off. Because the theme of the season was called Blood versus Water, which was about playing with your loved one, and Caleb's was already out of the game, and he was the only player on the tribe at this point to have their loved one out of the game, Brad's logic for fake voting out Caleb to Sierra and Katie was that voting out Caleb wouldn't have many ramifications. Which, to be fair, is actually a pretty justifiable strategy. In his head, Brad was trying to justify the fake plan, but in Caleb's head, what he was hearing was that it definitely made sense. It is actually not a bad idea. And then you couple that with the paranoia of this alliance, and Caleb decided he was just tired of dealing with Brad's leadership. He was tired of the overplay. On the spot, in one of the most 180 votes in Survivor history, he declared he was voting out Brad. The vote went to a 3-3 tie, and then Vetus flipped on the revote to avoid rocks to send Brad packing. Brad could have said less, done less, and likely would have survived, but he overplayed his hand and lost the trust of his alliance, and this was the price he had to pay. And then he got to spend the night on Redemption Island with John and Candace, John's wife, which is just such a rich storyline.
So, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Caleb.
We all went to the well and Brad stayed behind with the two girls, so it was just kind of a little fishy. He just got rid of John, so as easy as it went down from 5 guys to 4 guys, it could just as easily go down to 3 guys.
So then, Brad, you're saying it'd be great to vote out somebody without a loved one, because then nobody from the other tribe will be mad. Yeah.
The problem is, once you distrust somebody, it's really hard to regain their trust, especially in a game like this, Jeff.
I don't want you to go home. I'm gonna write Brad's name down. Y'all can do what you want to.
4th person voted out of Survivor Blood versus Water. Brad.
I was dead asleep, and I hear the sweetest voice I ever wanted to hear on Redemption Island. Brad Culpepper.
Last but not least, let's talk about one of my favorite self-destructions ever. Season 28, Kagian. Poker player Garrett Adelstein is controlling his brains tribe with another 4-1 numbers advantage. Kinda like Alicia and Ko Wrong that I just talked about earlier in the video, Jatia was this hot mess express. She knew she was the next to go and wasn't gonna take her ouster quietly. After the tribe lost the immunity challenge, Garrett took the reins, assembled the tribe, and had them all straight up say, they were voting out Jatia, and now they were gonna sit in silence for the rest of the afternoon and just not strategize. It was the easiest way to get her out. Keep it simple, stick to the plan, let's not talk and make each other paranoid. Basically, Garrett was suggesting and asking his tribe to not give us any good content. So Jatia got mad, and when the tribe went together to take a dip in the ocean, she dumped the tribe's rice in the fire. As if she wasn't already leaving, this kind of cemented it. But Tasha and Cass weren't exactly happy with Garrett's iron grip on the tribe either. Strategically, Garrett was controlling all of them, and he made it quite obvious. Jatia, meanwhile, had no control of literally anything, so why not keep her around as a shield to get picked off if they lose again? In a kind of roundabout way of me calling half of the Brains tribe smart here, Tasha and Cass outmaneuvered the guys and blindsided Garrett after he ordered them to do anything but that. But like, come on Garrett, that's not how you play Survivor, by hitting the mute button on the social game. But to make all of this even more destructive, Garrett had an idol in his pocket, which he didn't play because he didn't even bring it to tribal council. Just up in flames.
Shake on it. Final 3.
Look, my vote is to not have side convos, honestly. That's what I would prefer. Best case, I think, is the 5 of us sit here together until tribal.
This is Survivor, you go talk.
I don't want to do that anymore.
He is not the leader of this tribe. He lays around all day, pretty much watches everyone work.
Like the survivor genius he is, Garrett decides to have an open forum on what we're gonna do later at Tribal Council. Garrett, you're an idiot.
Second person voted out of Survivor Cagayan. Garrett.
Left a hidden immunity idol just sitting at camp. It's really embarrassing in a lot of different ways. Really, really embarrassing.
And those are 5 times Survivor players destroyed their own game. And what a train wreck of a video this was. You can smell the smoke from the other end of the internet. Let me know what you think about these 5 moments and any other self-destructions I could talk about in the future. And if I'm being honest, I could probably make like a whole series out of this, so if you enjoy it, maybe I will. Either way, a huge thank you to my patrons on the screen for not blowing up on me and letting me eat my rice in peace. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to play your idol and bring it to Tribal Council before it's you who's on the way out. And I will see you in the next one once I say we stick to the plan.
Sometimes I don't know if Keith quite understands exactly the intricacies of how this game is played. Myself, Wes, Alec, and Keith vote 4 strong, and we would be sending John home tonight.
That's a good plan. We can play all 4 and get John out there ringleader, which I don't care much for to begin with.
It's an amazing plan, but it has to be stuck to.
I say stick to the plan. That's all I can say.
Wow, John, stick to the plan.
Jeff, I'd rather play this than go home with it in my pocket.
Here you go, Jeff.
John, does not count. Keith, nobody with any votes. 9th person voted out and the 3rd member of our jury. Wes, you need to bring me your torch.
Sly dog, you.
Wes, the tribe has spoken.